Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I, Mani Khanna, on behalf of ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter, welcomes you all in this webinar, which is organized jointly by ASHRAE Pune chapter and ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter with the support of IPSA India. So we have a very great topic, which is CFD in buildings. So connecting the dots between architects and engineers. So my colleague, Mr. Akshay, would be proceeding forward. Akshay, please.
Well, thank you, Mani. Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Hello, friends. Good evening to all. Myself, Akshay Kumar, YHR, ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter. Welcome to this webinar. This webinar has jointly organized by ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter and ASHRAE Pune chapter and supported by IBPSA India. Now, I am sure you all are aware about ASHRAE. ASHRAE is the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. This society has mission to serve humanity by advancing art and science of HVAC and R and their allied fields. This society consists all the professional members related to HVAC and building industry. Uh, with the initiation taken by ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter to spread knowledge among the members during the period of lockdown, today is our 60th webinar on CFD in buildings, connecting the dots between architects and engineers. In today's webinars, we highlight how CFD can integrated into design process, where it can be applied, the common barriers and the how these are being addressed, and the opportunity for it can bring to those working in the sector. Now, I would like to introduce today's presenter, Mr. Vaibhav Rai Khade. He is founding member IBPSA India. He has expertise in different sectors of energy, including research on energy efficiency, energy conservation, and energy simulations. Currently, he is working as an energy analyst at Environment Design Solutions. His previous organizational experience includes energy policy advocacy and building energy simulation, especially in building CFD simulation plus thermal comfort. He is also a founder and board member of IBPSA India Society. I request to Mr. Webb Raikare, please present your presentation. Now over to you, Mr. Webb.
So, welcome everyone. Hope all of you are safe and sound at your home and enhancing your knowledge through these various webinars and courses offered. So, this is Vaibhav Khare and I will talk about the CFD in buildings, connecting the dots between architects and engineers. Working as an energy analyst in environmental design solutions. I'm a CFD user from past 8 years and I have 6 years experience in building energy simulation, 1 year in energy efficiency policy advocacy. Basically, I'm a mechanical engineering engineer having done post-graduation in energy engineering from MNIT Jaipur. And I'm also a founding and board member of IBPSA India Society. So what will I cover today in webinar? That what is CFD and why CFD is useful for building design and some applications of CFD in building design and HVAC. So because I don't know if all of you are very familiar with CFD, so I'll explain CFD through various case studies for your better understanding. So if you can see from the figure, there is a room in which the fire breaks up because of some reason and everywhere is a smoke. So what if a building could be made with a great accuracy and origin of the event reproduced and structural behavior of building predicted with accuracy? So if this can be done, then different scenario could be studied, best solution identified, and building design to resist extreme situation better. So it might be possible that if you're designing this building, then this scenario which you can see right now is not happening, and so this could be done only with engineering simulation. So that's a role of simulation in our life. So what is CFD? CFD is basically a science of predicting fluid flow heat transfer, mass transfer equations, chemical reactions, and all of these equations, we solve the mathematical equations which govern these processes, and that's what the CFD is. I'm not going into technical details, but the CFD is a virtual experiment. So why should I care about CFD? These days, industry is focused on these market drivers, like there is rising cost of energy, cost of construction is high, new materials are forming, increase in natural disaster, more earthquakes and fire is taking place, and compliance to building codes, which is very important. There are several codes, LEED, GRIHA, IGBC, CBC, and plus extreme creativity. So the simulation driven building design should have some new novelty in building, some innovations, and the building green. So these three factors creates a sustainable design building. Also, sustainable design is one of the important factor, and it should come in the within the budget allotted and within the time frame. If it's not, then it won't be called as sustainable design. So what is the requirement for sustainable design? Low energy consumption, weather and solar impact, thermal behavior of the building, right sizing of HVAC. These four factors can be covered with energy simulation, but the other three, indoor air quality, proper air distribution and thermal comfort of the building. These three factors can only be catered with the help of CFD simulation. Now, how CFD connects with building design? Simulation often performed at these days. Simulation often performed at the end of the design, and while this facilitates design improvement, use of CFD in early stage design could prevent these design changes and reduce lots of cost. So I'll take an example of an urban planning. If you can see the video, this is a real example of a city situated in Israel. Yeah. There are few corners where very fast wing drag you. It literally drag you from one place to another place in winter season. And plus there are some chilly winds come from the north. So the impact of wind is undeniable, but the height of the tower also is the important factor to increase the wind velocity, as it can seen from the figure. The city planners are working to come up with solution, but over the time they have learned that the acceptance is the most important parameter for this kind of planning. So that's where CFD plays a major role in urban planning. So early stage design is the one of the process. Right now, if I'm talking about few years before, 10 years before, the design process was traditional, where all the architects, engineer community have typical thinkings, and once the drawing has been finalized, then the engineer got the design and then they start working. But right now the integrated design process is coming, which collaborate architects and engineer up to an level, so that some design changes can be performed before the design can be finalized. So one of the example of in which the deciding the orientation of the building. So you can see these three figures. So the orientation of the building has been changed and the CFD simulation has been done. If you can see the last image, where the wind pressure is very less for this orientation other than the three buildings. So the pedestrian will feel less draft of the air near to the building. So this is how CFD helped to decide the orientation of the building. So again, in this, after CFD simulation, it has been found that there is a high wind pressure. Basically, in real scenario, this is a road and this is where the entry of the building was expected. But after simulation, it has been found that there is a high wind pressure in this area and the low wind pressure in the back side of the building. So some design changes were implemented. So where the low wind pressure was, building entry points were provided, and for the high wind pressure, tree buffer can be provided to reduce the effect of the wind. Also, tall building plays a very major role in CFD. So if you can see, there is some bunch of buildings which are not very tall. So suppose one planner has planned a tall building near to this area. And when the CFD simulation has been done, we can see that the strong wind area is nearby the building. So to reduce this area, we can plant trees at the side of the building, and you can see in the third image that the wind velocity has been reduced. So that's where CFD can predict wind environment in a short term before construction. Another case of outdoor thermal comfort. There are some options has been studied with keeping the floor area as the same, and some building orientation has been changed and designed accordingly. And outdoor thermal comfort index has been found out, which is a major factor for outdoor thermal comfort. So it has been found that the third option, which have 84% area, is coming less than 31 degrees centigrade. This building is for Delhi climate. So from where we can decide that this is the best orientation to avoid the urban thermal climate index. Same CFD design can another big role in building design to for naturally ventilated building with comfort and proper ventilation. So in this case, a building has been studied with different natural ventilator strategy like single side ventilation, cross ventilation to study the effect and finalize the location of the window. So you can see the CFD model. So this building had 4 floors. It is a residential complex. So a sandwich structure of the floor has been studied because of the symmetry. So these are the temperature representation for 2 different cases. The left one is single side ventilation while the right one is cross ventilation. As you can see that the right hand side figure have better ventilation as compared to other one because of the proper flow of the air from one side to another side. This is a representation on the left hand side, the velocity vector of single side ventilation. CFD predict the location of window for maximum air change in less time. So the in the right hand side, the cross ventilation is happening where the window height and position is finalized after doing some iterations to check whether the maximum airflow or the maximum ACH is in this case. So that's where CFD can help in natural ventilation design. So integrated approach is there are how decision can be made. So if identification of cold and hot spots, then the CFD simulation expert will tell the architect that there are these kind of cold and hot spots. So architect can plant a tree or water bodies near it to reduce the urban heat island effect and reduce the cold or hot spot. Another one is wind impact on pedestrian. If the wind is too low or too high, then architect can change the orientation, and if he is planning on the city, then he can change the building orientation and the location to have a good impact on pedestrian. Wind impact on tall buildings. So this factor is usually ignored, but if a building is very tall and air is very high, then on the top floors the wind impact is so high. So if we can simulate this, then the stable structure to withstand the air pressure of the wind that can be provided on the top floors. And it also help in natural ventilation, so window placing can be changed accordingly to check the ACH. So that's where the building design works. Now CFD works for building ventilation and air conditioning also, or you can say in built environment. So there are several factors in which CFD can play a major role. First is airflow pattern. So I'm explaining all these cases with case studies. So airflow pattern, you can optimize airflow. As you can see, this is a room or you can say a hall of a house. So 3 different scenarios were studied with different cooling capacity and airflow to optimize the airflow. So different locations were considered for AHU, and the set point of air conditioning maintained as per the MOP guidelines, which is 24 degrees. So these are 3 cases in which you can see the temperature contours. So in the first case, you can see the temperature is varying around 24 to 25 degree, while in the case 2 and case 3, it's less, because in the I'll show it in next slide. So this is the air velocity vector. You can see in the case 1 there are 4 diffusers from which velocity is flowing. In the case 2, the location of the diffuser has been changed, and see the effect. And in other case, the diffuser's location and number of diffuser has been changed. So case 3 has the lowest airflow speed at 1 meter height level, which is the standard height. And the occupant does not feel cold or any draft of the cold air. So if we can see, then the case 3 was the best possible case for optimizing the airflow for occupant comfort. So displacement cooling is if you can see the left hand, the conventional cooling, which is generally at the 7 meter height of the floor, and from where the cold air can be circulated. And on the right hand side, the displacement cooling, where we reduce the airflow velocity and the height of the diffuser up to 1.5 meter. So different scenarios were considered with reducing the airflow rates. We can see these are the different airflow velocity varying from 1 meter per second, then 0.8, 0.6, 0.4, and even 0.2. So this is a representation of the airflow for different cases. So it has been found that if 1 meter per second velocity is flowing through the displacement cooling, then the occupant will feel draft. I am not showing all of the results here, but you can see from the video that the supply duct, if supply duct at 7 meter and the standard velocity is 2 meter per second. So yeah, and the second case it's of 0.8 meter per second. So in general, it's a model of a store, of a supermarket store. So generally at the upper height we don't require cooling, but in the conventional cooling the complete room gets cooled, so there is a wastage of energy. So that's why we use displacement cooling, where the only adequate height, like 2 meter or 3 meter height gets cooled, and upper portion we don't require the cooling. So that's where displacement cooling works. Another one is temperature distribution. CFD can help in temperature distribution. So this is a case of thermal environment of an office, where 2 of the cases were compared. One case is conventional cooling and another case is with radiant cooling. So in conventional cooling, you can see there is a draft of air, or the cool air, which is in the middle of the room. This is because of the airflow. Because airflow is high, then there is a beam at the middle of the room, so the air gets tracked with it and then comes down. Sorry, I don't have the picture of the radiant cooling airflow, but I guess it clarifies the reason of being this portion blue. So the spatial distribution of temperature for both cases has been determined. Spatial distribution is basically air temperature according to the height. So you can see for conventional case, the distribution is more it's scattered in the range, but for the radiant cooling, it's the mean air temperature range was in comfortable limit. So we can say that if we have this kind of cooling, it means radiant cooling, and this temperature and this airflow, then people will feel more comfortable. Another case is a CFD of personalized cooling system. So you can see the design of a personalized radiant cooling system in which the person cubicle has been fitted with radiant pipes and the chilled water flowed in the radiant pipes. So there were various cases conducted with maintaining thermal comfort with reducing condensation. So these are some temperature representation, and from the temperature representation and data, it was found that the chilled water temperature for this personalized radiant cooling system can be increased up to 16 degrees centigrade. In conventional cooling, it's around 7 degree to 8 degree. So there is a lots of delta T, and thus the saving can be achieved. Also, thermal mass effect on radiant cooling can be studied. As you can see, the two cases in which chilled water pipes at different height from the ground and different configuration of chilled water temperature disturbance. There was some network connectivity issues at my end. Yeah. So the next thing is contaminant distribution. This is a very important factor seeing today's situation of COVID-19. Airborne diseases are difficult to predict and prevent since it can originate from outside environment, from infected people or hospital staff, or from some unknown sources. So CFD can predict the air movement and optimize it, and it can reduce the spread of bacteria through effective ventilation, and it can improve thermal comfort level for patient and medical staff. So what CFD can do in healthcare facility? So it can see the dust contamination. It can simulate the dust contamination. So there are two cases with one diffuser and the 4 diffusers of a doctor's room. So this simulation has been performed at human height after 30 seconds of door closure. So this is the dust concentration after 30 seconds. One is viral contamination from patient. So this also can be simulated through CFD, and you can see the results in the CFD simulation result at the center of patient body after 30 seconds of door closure. So you can see that the option 1 with only one diffuser is good in this case, because the another case there are in the first case the diffuser is just above the head of the person sitting over there. So it's better for than other cases. And skin flake contamination also can be studied from the CFD. So skin flake are basically some skin flakes which can be removed if a person is sick or something. So this type of simulation also can be done. So yeah. And also the ventilation effectiveness. Ventilation effectiveness is another major parameter. So this is a case of ventilation in a parking garage, in which you can see we have installed two fresh air fans, and there is one ramp which is open to environment and 3 exhaust. So we have done the CFD study, and you can see clearly that there are 2 low velocity zones in it. So the air is not flowing through this side. So to increase the velocity distribution, we have placed some jet fans at some different angles and distance, and now you can see the airflow velocity has got better than the previous one. So that's how ventilation in a garage works. Now CFD can also create a thermal comfort parameter. So this is a study of a underground metro station which have two underground floors. So in this case, we have optimized the diffuser location and supply airflow rates, and found the minimum airflow required for maximum comfort level. In this, you can see the temperature contours of the whole building. So it's quite not understandable, because I have put the picture of contour for the whole area, but get some idea. This is the airflow velocity vector, from where you can see the velocity vector to show the path of the air. It is a section representation of a station. The important part is PMV and PPD. This is a PMV contour. So the airflow and the location of diffuser has been optimized so that the PMV level is maintained under the thermal comfort limit. So this is the concourse and the platform level. The black dots you can see are the people considered for the simulation. Last one, mean age of the air that can be found from CFD. So mean age is significant indicator of the freshness of air room, like how the air coming from outside is changing. So that's the time called mean age of the air. It is very much required in hospitals and in ICU facilities so that the fresh air can go as quickly as possible. And it is also required in natural ventilation studies, so you can find the if it's forced ventilation also, you can find the air change per hour, and accordingly you can select your options. So these were some case studies which showed how CFD can help in the decision making process in building design and HVAC design for built environment. Now I want to show some basic fundamentals of CFD, including the steps and some best practices which should perform for simulation. So basically the CFD process simulation. First one is problem formulation, where information modeling or first to gather the information, what kind of CFD you want, internal, external, or the parameters. Then is your flow is turbulent or laminar? What are the specific goals to your problem? What do you want to achieve? So that's the first step of CFD process, which is formulation. The second is mathematical formulation or equation, in which you decide the flow model, the turbulence model, whether it will be RANS or K omega or K epsilon, depend on the properties you want to simulate. And the computational domain or the boundary of your domain. So you have to decide first that what will be your domain boundary. And governing equations like mass, momentum, energy, CFD works in these three equations. And then you can simplify your equations, whether if you are doing some simulation and the results can be seen from the 2D simulation, then you need not to do a 3D simulation, which takes more time. So you have to decide the second step. Third one is discretization. Discretization is basically a meshing of the object. Meshing plays a very important role in CFD. I will cover it later. And the pressure velocity coupling, how it couples with the pressure and velocity, which model you are using, like which approach you are using, FDM or FVM. This approach decide that which software you should go with. And the time scheme. Is whether it's explicit or implicit. The second, another step is iterative solution, where you see the method of convergence, the equation balancing, how the equation can balance, and you give input to the solver. That there are some factors which can be ignored in some kind of simulation. I'm covering very basic detail. I'm not going very much into it, so just keep it with me. Next step is simulation run. So you have to decide the time step and the maximum iteration in a time step to reduce errors, so that your result can be quick and accurate. Next one is post-processing, which is also important, like contours or animations, that how you represent the results. Next one is verification, which is an important factor, but sometimes you can't verify the results. So if possible, you compare result with actual and see how it is deviating. And if it is deviating with your result, then you can go again and find the issues with the simulation. And validation with uncertainty. So I hope you didn't get bored. Now I'll show some very important factors used in CFD, which can't be ignored while doing simulation. I'm covering only those factors which is common for all CFD users. Like if you are doing some external CFD, then also these factor will be countable. So the CFD generally works on FVM, that is finite volume method. So whole domain, if you have selected some domain, which you can see from the left figure, so it divides the whole domain into small control volumes. If you see the second one figure, then you can see the face, the cell, the edge, and the node of the volume. And then the equations, mass, energy, and momentum equations solve for each control volume. So suppose if you have 13 million cells, which I showed you in one case earlier. So the equation will be run for each one volume. So basically it will be 13 million equations into 3, because some mass momentum, mass equation, momentum, and energy equation. So this is how CFD works. That's why the reason it takes a lot of time, because there are lots of equation to solve. Meshing. So if your meshing is not good or your meshing is poor quality, then it will cause a inaccurate solution. So there are several reasons of your mesh to for a poor quality, like your mesh is too coarse or high skewness of the mesh. I'll come on later. And large aspect ratio and inappropriate boundary layer mesh. So if you can see, there is an example of poor mesh and good mesh. So in the poor mesh, you can see why I am saying this mesh as a poor. But if you can see, the upper mesh is more structured mesh. But if you can see the circle which I draw, in this circle you can see the distortion of the mesh, which is called skewness. So this is a high skewness factor, while in the below image, which is a good mesh, you will not see a skewness or a distortion of the mesh. It is very smooth and it's not very coarse. So this is the reason why I am calling the above mesh is poor and the lower mesh is a good mesh. For meshing, there are several factors from where you can check the quality. So first, check the quality of boundary mesh from, there are three main factors: skewness, smoothness, and aspect ratio. Skewness is how the mesh is skewed from the corners or where the geometry is uneven. So if your skewness is towards 0, then it will be best. But generally what happens, if you try to reduce the skewness, then your number of cell size increases a lot. So try to keep towards 0, but not it's mandatory that you should keep it tends to 0. Smoothness is the change in cell size. So how the cell size is changing. So if there is a large jump in cell size, then it will the CFD simulation will show error or the result will not accurate. So there should be uniform growth rate. So sometimes the domain is too large and we don't need refined cells. Like for an example, external CFD, the domain is very large. We take an environment as a domain with some 100-meter or 150-meter from above and left or right side. So it's not required to have a very refined mesh, because this is of no use. So you can increase the mesh size, but the increase should be very smooth. Another one is aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the ratio of the highest edge of your mesh divided by the shortest edge of your mesh. So if its aspect ratio is 1, it means the mesh is perfect. And if it's greater than like in standard practice, we keep aspect ratio below 5:1. There are some process in which you can improve, see, and then repair the boundary mesh. So if you see, if you first generate the mesh, then you can refine the boundary of your region, which is important. And after generating the after refining the boundary, you refine your mesh, so that this will be the exact process and where you will not get any errors. Time scheme is also important. There are two scheme, explicit scheme and implicit scheme. That this is, you have to decide based on your case property that which scheme you should choose. Time explicit is easy to program with only simple calculation performed, but implicit is more difficult and involve many iteration per time step. I'll explain you what is the iteration per time step. Suppose you are doing one simulation and that you have considered time step as a 1 second. It means 1 second, in 1 second the equations will calculate and move on to next second. An iteration per time step, the CFD process depends upon various equations and methods in which it reduces the errors. So per time step, it takes some parameter and then again calculate, and it calculates till the error reduces. So that's called iterations per time step. In explicit scheme, it have a tendency to be unstable and require very small time steps because you are using only simple calculations. That's why it might take, if you are using lots of models like multi-phase model, or you are doing some turbulent simulation, then it will be unstable. But implicit scheme is very stable, but the problem is it takes a lot of time because the one time step consider around 20 to 50 iterations. The next part is convergence. I guess you will understand the explicit and implicit concept here. So convergence is like if you reduce the error, you will get accurate results. It depends upon the judgment of the analyst who is doing the analysis, and user should know when the analysis has reached its final solution. So if you can see from the figure, the first figure, the residuals, this is a monitor in which the velocity, temperature, and turbulence and energy equation parameters are there. So if you can see from the left hand, it's not good because it is fluctuating a lot. But on the right hand side, it is constantly decreasing, and after certain time it become constant. It means your solution reach at its final stage and your equations don't have errors. The energy residual, it should decrease up to 10 raised to power minus 6. So that's how the error works. 10 raised to power minus 6 is 0.00001. So there are some inputs which needs to be checked before the simulation running to have accuracy. Before starting the simulation, the user must check these inputs to avoid, like, our physical model are appropriate? Is your flow turbulent, unsteady? Are there any compressibility effect? Is the air is ideal or air is compressible? Are your boundary conditions are correct? Is your computational domain large enough? If you are doing external simulation and you are keeping your domain as less as your building size is, then there will be no effect of the wind or on the external simulation. So are your boundary condition appropriate? Are your boundary values are reasonable? Or is your initial condition is perfect? Then is computational grid is accurate? Your matching is good. Can be refined to improve results, like aspect ratio and or skewness factor can be reduced. Is the solution grid independent? Grid independent is what if you are meshing some model, then after a certain time, if you mesh the model more if you refine the model, the solution won't get affected. So that's the stage where it's called grid independence. So you need to check is your grid is accurate or grid independent. There are several methods to check the grid independence that you can search and find. And thus boundary resolution need to be improved. Sometimes if you are doing some internal room analysis, then the wall shear effect and wall shear stress will be the main impact on the airflow. But if you are doing external CFD simulation, then this won't matter. So you have to check this before running. Then the final part is post-processing, because visualization is very important. Sometimes client don't have the knowledge to understand the result in form of graph. So the CFD help to generate result in a form so that client can visualize and see the difference between 2 or 3 cases which you are showing. So you should know that how the visualization in different dimension can affect. Like in 1D dimension, a straight line can be formed. In 2D, there are lots of contour plots and streamline. In 3D, as you can see from the figure, these are isosurfaces. This is a temperature isosurface, which I have depicted a comfortable range of temperature. And it shows that it's in a room, how many area is covered with this temperature range. So if you are seeing this to client, then he will get easily understand that what exactly is happening. And if you can produce an animation, then it will be good on some statistical analysis, which is for your understanding and finding the accurate result. Right now, there are lots of barriers which are coming in CFD, but I'm seeing from last few years that we are overcoming these barriers. So there are some places where the understanding of fluid behavior is very critical. Then CFD can be the only option available. You have to do CFD, otherwise your building or your ventilation design can fall. So the CFD, first thing is time. So there are lots of iterating involved with building design, and it gets so easily that once you have selected a design, and the another day you find that the design has been changed. So if you are doing the CFD within time, then it will be beneficial. So there are some softwares and there are some techniques which do the CFD within time. The second thing is cost. Basically, the CFD simulation software cost is very high, but these days there are lots of option as pay as you go basis, because you can't purchase a one software and use for all type of simulation. Like if you are using one software for internal simulation, you can't use it for external. I mean, you can, but there are lots of other software available which are better than this software. So you can pay as you go, so it will reduce your cost. Another thing is dynamic. Right now CFD is so dynamic. There are cloud computing based CFD, and so you can find very quick results. So you can discuss with the architects and the designer within a day or two, so that they can implement your design changes accordingly. And the complexity. So sometimes geometry cleanups are necessary. The geometry is very complex and you need not to include all the factors. So you have to clean up the geometry. It reduces your time as well as it improves the accuracy of the result. And the knowledge sharing. So right now, these days, the architects and engineers all are involving in the design making process. And this is where the knowledge sharing is happening. Still, after this overcoming barrier, there are a few barriers which remains. So if you can see from these 4 figures, you will see and notice that all the figures are same, but there is only one difference. The difference is the temperature. This is a simulation of a CPU chip, and this is a heat sink. So you will find in all these 4 cases the temperature is varying very much. The reason is because the results are highly dependent on the knowledge of the person who is setting up the model and interpreting the result. So that's what like if you are doing CFD simulation, then you must have the knowledge of mathematical model and the fluid behavior and the meshing technique, so that these kind of mistakes can be avoided and the result can be more accurate. There are lots of software available in the market like IES, Gradle, ANSYS, Meteodyne. OpenFOAM is an open source CFD model, and Rhino, Grasshopper, you can do the external CFD very good. And we made a Quantum, Design Builder, SimScale. these are some softwares which you can use for CFD. So as CFD become more accessible, architects and engineers have the ability to simulate the flow field around the buildings. This could contribute hugely to preparing the buildings for natural disaster and reducing the cost in the repairing cost in the wake of such occurrence. Nowadays, engineers are moving to compute airflow patterns, space temperature, which resulting a greater level of accuracy. So that's it from my side. I would like to thank ASHRAE Chandigarh and ASHRAE Pune chapter and BIPSA India for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. If you have any question, you can write in the chat box and I'll try to answer.
So the question is, what is the best
Yeah.
simulation software for CFD, and which is best, and what is the general cost?
It depends on the application, which kind of software you want to use or which kind of simulation. For an example, if you are doing external CFD simulation, then there will be some different softwares, and because the properties of this software varies, and plus the time taking in the simulation is also varies a lot. So I can't recommend any software without seeing the what is the use of this. But you can search what do you want, and then you can find out the proper software.
Next question is, any standard mention for aspect ratio? Is it varies as per the application?
Yeah, the standard for aspect ratio is it should be ideally 1:1. But sometimes what happens if you are keeping the aspect ratio as per ideal situation, the mesh size goes to some millions or billions, and it takes a lot of time to solve. And these type of case study don't require this time to spend. So if it all depends on the convergence criteria. If you are maintaining the aspect ratio below 5:1 and still your solution are not converging, then you can check the quality of the mesh and the reduce aspect ratio a little bit. Not if directly to 5:1 to 2:1, but try to keep the aspect ratio as 5, then 4:1, then 3:1, and then rerun the software and see if your solution gets converging. Once the solution get converged, then it's fine.
Right. So yeah, there is another question from the professional. How can architects learn CFD simulation, and from where they can learn? Do you recommend some online course?
There are some online courses, but I generally don't recommend to learn CFD for architects. Not there are some reasons. There are architects who are doing external CFD analysis and airflow as well. But the if you are going to learn, then you should have the complete knowledge of the fluid mechanics and heat and transfer mechanism. If you can, so I would suggest before going to learn CFD, you should have learned heat and mass transfer and the fluid mechanics. And if you get the ideas how these equations work and how these energy equation work, then if you go for CFD learning, it will be beneficial for you, as well as it will be easy to identify what are the issues are in the CFD, because you can't find the errors in CFD by looking at it. To see the error or to know the error, you have to know its physics. So it if your simulation is going wrong, it won't show you that your simulation is wrong. It will anyway give you results. But to check the results quality and to check the result if it's correct, you should have the proper knowledge of its physics, what it is applying. So if you can learn these physics, then yes, you can find. There are lots of courses available. Of SC, the Cradle software, it's basically specifically designed for HVAC applications. So there are courses, training modules you can find and search. Also, ISCFD is also very good, and you will find some very good tutorials of it. So it
Right.
all depends on you. You can use any software.
Right. Perfect. So there is another question from Himanshu. Did you also simulate the water flow through the pipes used in radiant cooling?
Yes, I did.
That is all from the participant side, and we are about to finish the time, and exact 6:30, 1 hour completely. We are on time, and it's time to sign off with the thank you note for from Ashray Chandigarh chapter. We would like to thank you all for your participation, and we are so grateful for your support. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So keep participating and learning with Ashray Chandigarh chapter. And thank you, Weber, for your time. And I think it's a great presentation, as
Thank you.
there was simulation impacts which you can see show the screen during your presentation. It was great. And you can join our next webinar, all of you. It is on 15th of May, which is fundamentals of UVGI for air and surface disinfection. So as this is a high time, and we all are fighting with this coronavirus, so it is good to have, and Ashray DL from Ashray USA will be joining with us on 15th of May, 6 p.m. Indian time. So this video may be uploaded. Yes, many of you have asked this question. So will this video will be available? Yes, this video, if they recorded it well, then it will be uploaded on Ashray Chandigarh chapter YouTube channel. So you can have a look after it once it is uploaded. So at the end, we also thanks to all our sponsors who have provided the support to conduct these webinars. Armacell and Flowguard being the technology partners, and ALM, Nextflow, Jeevandeep, Metal Joints, and GR Insulation are the annual partners with us for complete activity years with Ashray Chandigarh chapter. So these are upcoming webinars for your reference, and you can have a look and register with the updated calendar for Ashray Chandigarh chapter in the month of May and June. So 9 days just completed, 15th, 23, 30, and 6 that we are coming up in the lineup panel. So yeah, again, thank you very much for all for you attending this webinar, and stay in touch so that we can connect for upcoming webinars. Thank you, Vaishnav. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mani.